Tanya Lord once said of missing a loved one, just one more day. Sometimes I wonder what I would say if we had just one more day. Would I tell you the news from home? Ask you about where you now roam? Would I tell you all the things left unsaid? The guilt and regrets still in my head? Would I want to know that you're okay? Beg you please to come back and stay? Would I not say all that much and just reach out for one last touch? I don't know what I would say, but I do sure wish for that one more day. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee, Tea, and Crime. This is Dana, and in today's episode, JR and I will be looking at two separate missing persons from JR's home state of Tennessee. Two young women who have been missing for decades. This is the story of Nowhere to Be Found, the disappearances of Martha Leanne Green and Shannon Elaine Arif. Martha Leanne Green was born in Dickson County in 1970. She had attended elementary and middle school in White Bluff before heading off to high school in Dickson, which was just down Highway 70 a few miles. Members of her family had attended school with JR and his family. Leanne was working at the Holiday Inn, which is now a Quality Inn, on Highway 46, just off I-40 at exit 172. She had to be stoked with her prom scheduled for the next night as she waited for her twin brother Lawson to arrive to pick her up from work. Sometime around 9 p.m., he arrived in a borrowed 1979 silver Monte Carlo. Heading back in a northwesterly direction, the car crossed over I-40. Now, back in the 80s, exit 172 was known for three things: Charlie Luther and Don Reeder's Texaco station, where the Cracker Barrel now sits on Gum Branch Road, just off Christie Road and Highway 46, the Holiday Inn, and the Waffle House, which had been in its present location for as long as anyone could remember, and that was about it. So Leanne and Lawson were motoring along on Highway 46 past Robin Hood Road, then Old Columbia Road, and the little used car lot that changed hands continuously, and finally approaching the railroad tracks. That's when the car stopped running and came to a stop at Highway 46 and Fabric Road, just a mile and a half from the hotel. They hadn't been there more than a minute or so when the Puckett family happened along and stopped to help. Lawson hitched a ride to get gas, and Leanne stayed in the car listening to the radio. Within 20 or 25 minutes, the Pucketts dropped Lawson back at the car, and he discovered that Leanne was not there. Her purse was there, the keys were still there, but his sister had vanished. There was no sign of a struggle inside the car, according to authorities, and evidently no crime scene discovered around the car, again, according to authorities. The search for the missing teen reportedly lasted a brief 3 days, and that, as they say, was that. The sheriff of Dickson County told a news agency recently that a stranger was responsible. He didn't explain what led him to that conclusion, but there you have it. 34 years Leanne has been missing. Now, let's take a moment because I do believe JR wants to discuss some of the issues surrounding this case.
So what happened to Leanne? We have three options. 1, she ran away. 2, she got snatched by a stranger. Or 3, someone she thought she knew grabbed her. Let's take a moment and see if we can figure some of this out. Let's start with the she ran away theory. Now, if Leanne was going to run off with her boyfriend or one of her BFFs, why would she wait until she was sitting in a car with no gas on the side of Highway 46? I figure she might want to do her running after work and before her brother came to pick her up. Or maybe after the prom. It makes no sense for her to pick that particular time under those circumstances to decide to flee the jurisdiction. Unless the police or whoever else thinks she just thumbed a ride with the first car that stopped and not take her purse. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, now that we've decided that Leanne just didn't take off, let's look at our other two choices. There's one thing I learned. It is you generally have one chance at a crime scene to get it right. After that, time and weather will destroy anything that might have been there. Now, I think we can all agree the person responsible parked either behind or in front of the Monte Carlo. If you're going to kidnap someone, you can't spend too much time or space dragging or carrying Leanne to your car. Tire tracks, footprints, blood, hair, scuff marks, or other signs of a struggle could quite easily have been eradicated by the Puckett's vehicle or Lawson walking up to put gas in the car. I don't know the circumstances under which the police were first notified or when or if they made the scene. Let's look at the stranger angle. What would Leanne have done if someone she didn't know walked up to her vehicle? Would she have gotten out to chat? Were the doors locked on the car? If so, would she have unlocked the door to talk to a stranger? Or maybe put the window down? Suppose the unknown person was armed. Would Leanne have followed his orders to get out of the car and walk to his car? Would Leanne have fought back if a stranger had grabbed her? I expect so. The last conversation between Lawson and Leanne, she made the comment that she was scared. It seems that her state of mind, like most people, would make it unlikely that she would get out of the car for a stranger. So what is the typical mindset of the public, especially in small towns? Simple. Well, whoever did this couldn't be from Dickson County. Had to be a stranger. We weren't raised like that. How many times when they catch someone for committing some horrible deed, people will say, I can't believe old so-and-so did that. He was such a nice fella. Or he was so quiet. Or, well, shoot, he was in church every time the doors were open. I just can't believe he would do something like this. Folks, I got bad news for you. You don't know people like you think you do. You don't know what they do in private or when they're away from friends and family. Everyone wants to say it was someone from parts unknown. Law enforcement doesn't mind that view because it takes the heat off of them. They can simply say, well, it was a stranger that did it. What could we have done? I have no idea how many people drove past Leanne while she sat there on the side of Highway 46. But I would think a few dozen, if not more. If she was fighting some fella, I imagine folks would have stopped to help or reported it to the police. You know, they do that kind of stuff in a small town. They actually still care. It could get tricky for a stranger to blindside a young lady who had admitted she was scared to be alone. The final theory, suppose it was someone she knew, someone from school, church, work, someone she saw at a store she shopped at regularly, an adult, or someone she thought she knew and thought she could trust. I think she would get out of the car to talk to a person she knew, even sit in their car waiting for Lawson to come back. Someone who she would allow to get close enough to her to have hit her with an impact weapon to stun her, whether she was in that person's car or on the side of the cars away from the road. Maybe they made a sexual advance and she rebuffed them, and they flew into a rage and acted on impulse. You know, studies show that about 80-90% of victims of rape are attacked by someone they know. How easy is it to get away with a crime when you're hiding in plain sight? If the public and law enforcement are looking outside the community for the suspect, and the suspect is a part of that community, then what happens? Nothing.
Shannon Elaine Riley Arif was 20 years old when she vanished from Clarksville in Montgomery County, Tennessee. The last known sighting of Shannon was on March 16th at approximately 10 a.m. by her husband, a soldier at Fort Campbell, prior to him leaving for work. She was reported missing by her husband late on the 16th or early on the 17th. Shannon had a 15-month-old son. She was scheduled to work from 4:30 to 9:15 p.m. at Walmart on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard in Clarksville, but never showed up for her shift that day. When she didn't return home, her husband went to Walmart that night and found her car on the lot, locked with her purse still inside. Like the Green case, police initially thought Shannon had skipped town. How much of a factor did this play in the investigation that followed? And, like Leanne, would Shannon have left her purse if she had voluntarily left town? Walmart had multiple sets of cameras covering the parking lot. Was the footage obtained by police? And if so, what did it reveal? The couple lived at 377 Peabody, a 25-minute drive to the Walmart. The husband is the last link in the chain. We don't know what kind of person or mother Shannon was, but would she have just left her baby at home and took off? Or left for work without someone watching her child? Who gave police the impression that Shannon skipped town? The husband? Outside of the husband, the time gap is very large, and something seems amiss with him. The first suspect in the death of one spouse is always the other spouse.
Dana and I have looked at many missing person cases in Tennessee involving young females, and it seems in so many, the police initial thought is the female had voluntarily left the area. How critical is that mindset when the first 24 to 48 hours is so important? How hard are police pushing the investigation if they think Shannon just skipped town? It is frustrating to see this same pattern repeatedly. We found no information from police or media outlets regarding the video from the Walmart cameras. Was it checked? If so, it had to show something. Was Shannon in her car when it was parked on the lot? What time did the car arrive on the lot, and who was driving? Was she snatched from the lot? How strenuous was the canvassing of the area for witnesses and any additional video? Walmart had 5 sets of cameras covering the lot. Find it hard to believe there is no evidentiary value from the footage. The video would confirm or eliminate many questions, answers, or suspicions. Could Shannon have been taken from the Walmart parking lot? The suspect would have either shown a weapon or struck her, put her in his vehicle. If the suspect dropped her car off, that would require him to have to walk away or have a second person pick him up, which would mean Shannon is being restrained in the suspect vehicle trunk, the back seat, which would be risky, at another location, or is no longer living. Of course, if you think she ran off, then I guess she dropped her car at work and rode off with whoever, but didn't take her purse or her child. I don't think that is what happened. There seems to be a 12-hour or so time gap between when her husband last saw her on the morning of the 16th and when he finds the car that night. I haven't seen any information related to Shannon's movements from 10 a.m. to when she was due to be at work at 4:30 p.m. If she was parking the car and preparing to go into work, then she's on the lot around 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. There are a lot of businesses around Walmart she could have stopped at prior to work. I wonder who was watching her child when she left for work. Something just doesn't add up. The husband sounds like the key to the case. There are rumors of marital discord. Did he kill her? He certainly had time to do so. Still have to wonder about how the car got dropped off. Did he have an accomplice? Did he hoof it back home? Long walk if he did. You wonder if police checked the residence, and if so, how thorough they were. It's harder than you think to clean up a crime scene. I've been involved in some homicide cases where shoddy cleanup by the suspect did them in. Did they do a canvass of the neighborhood around the house? What was the husband's story to the police after he got home? If the baby's there but she's not, how does he explain that? Does he explain it? I wish there was more information to sift through. Another incredible, sad story, and another what if things had been handled differently.
Well, as JR loves to quote from one of his favorite movies, take this thing back to Baltimore. And that'll do it for another episode of Coffee, Tea, and Crime. Let us know what you think about this case in the comments below. And if you have a suggestion for a specific case you'd like us to cover in a future episode, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and give us a like if you enjoyed the video by hitting that thumbs up button. And don't be shy either. Go on and hit the subscribe button while you're there. Stay safe out there, and JR and I will see you on the next case.